Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Menachos Daf Ayin Zayin. We begin a brand new parak on Ayin Vavam Beis at the Mishnah, speaking primarily about the korban toida, which, as we know, is comprised of several components. You have the behema, the animal itself, the korban, and it's accompanied by breads of many types. So, in general, we have two categories, chametz and matzah. Within the chametz type, we only have 10 breads, which are relatively larger than the ones on the other side, which are the matzah. Matzah variations. So we have 3 matzah variations on the matzah side of things. One is called chales, a larger, size sort of loaf, which is technically matzah. We have rikikin, which are the flatter, more crackery type, and we have revucha, which is saturated with oil more than the rest. It's sort of cooked in oil. And again, there are 10 units per type. So 10 chametz, chales, and then on the matzah side we have 3 types, each one 10 units. So it's a total of 40 chales. 10 are chametz, 30 matzah. Okay, how much flour is used? What's the quantity required for these 40 breads? Says the Mishnah. So the breads of the toida, hoisabah, would come as follows: chamesh, 5 se'in, 5 sa'ah, Yerushalmiyos. So in Yerushalayim they upgraded, they increased the size of the sa'ah over what it was until then. So at this point it's 5 sa'ah, shein sheish midbaris, which corresponds in terms of quantity to the 6 sa'ah back in the midbar. So basically it's 20% bigger. Okay, so these 6 old sa'ah would fit into 5 new ones, because the 5 new ones were increased by 20%. So basically it's if you look at the final end game, it's a 6th more. Right, so 6 can fit into 5. So it's that 6th bigger, right? Now, 6 sa'ah correspond to 2 ephah. An ephah is 3 sa'ah, shtei ephahs. Right? Ha'ephah shalosh sein. Now, an isarin is a 10th. That's why it's called isarin, a 10th, like an eser. An isarin of what? So we know from the man, right? Asirus ha'ephah. Isarin is a 10th of an ephah. Okay, so if we have 2 ephah, that equals 20 isarin, right? 10 isarin per ephah, esrim isarin. And that's divided 10 to the chametz and 10 to the matzah. Split into 2. Asar l'chametz, 10 isarin for the 10 chametz breads, each one comprised of a full isarin, so it's a larger loaf. V'asar l'matzah. And the other 10 isarin is designated for the matzah, which is comprised of 30 breads. So basically it's much smaller, right? Each bread here is just a third of an isarin, so it's way smaller than the chametz breads. So the Mishnah explains asar l'chametz. So looking at the 10 isarin meant for the chametz, it's 10 bread, so it's isarin l'chala. Each chala has an isarin. Asar l'matzah. Regarding the 10 isarin for the matzah, that gets divvied much smaller. Uva matzah shalish min, because in the matzah category you have 3 types. You have l'chales, the loaf type, rikik, and the cracker type, revuch, and the oily one. Nimtzu. So it turns out, if you divide the 10 isarin amongst these 3 types, each one gets only 3 1/3 isarin. Shloisha israinim ushlish for every single type of matzah. L'chol min v'min. How much per matzah, per unit? V'sholish chalash isarin. So each isarin was meant for 3 chales. V'sholish chalash isarin, leaving each chala on the matzah side with only 1/3 of it isarin, as opposed to the chametz ones, which are 1 isarin per chala. Uvmid Yerushalmis. Now, if you work with the Yerushalmi numbers, they worked with kabin. So it's 5 sa'ah, and each sa'ah is 6 kav, total of 30 kav. So it's pretty much the same idea, just you work with different working with slightly different measurements. We take that total and we split it amongst the chametz and the matzah. Midi Rishalmis, Hayu Shleishim Kav. Right, so until now we spoke about the Midi Midbaris. 6 sa'ah, which is 2 ephah, which is 20 isaron, etc., etc. Now we shift to the Yerushalmi system, which was 5 sa'ah, 5 bigger ones, instead of the 6 smaller. And that's divided into 30 kav. We'll bring the Yerushalmi Hayu Shleishim Kav. 15 for the chametz, 15 for the matzah, right? 15 l'chametz, the chametz, the 15 l'matzah. Now, regarding the chametz, evidently there were bigger loaves, because there were 10 loaves for 15 kav, 1.5 kav per loaf. But on the matzah side of things, 15 was appropriated for all 30 matzahs, giving each matzah a much smaller share. So again, 15 l'chametz, the 15 kav meant for chametz, gets you kav mechza l'chala, 1.5 kav per chala, because it was 10 chalas for the 15 kav. On the other hand, 15 l'matzah, the 15 kav meant for the matzah. Now, with matzah shalish min, as we know, the matzah had 3 types. Chala is urikik and revucha. So you divide the 15 kav into 3, giving 5 kav per type. Nimtush chameshes kav and chalmin v'min. And how large was each chala? Shtei chalas l'kav. 2 chalas per kav, meaning a half a kav per chala. Okay, Mishnah began with this formula, speaking about the 6 sa'ah, which turned into 2 ephah, etc. How do we know that an ephah is 3 sa'ah? How do we know that? But not really, how do we know that in fact the term ephah refers to 3 sa'ah? We have a pasuk in Echeskel. Ha'ephah v'abas teichan echad, yeah. So the ephah and the bas is another measurement, is one and the same. And we know ma bas shalosh sin, just like a bas, as we know, is 3 sa'ah. We'll see in a minute how we know that. Half ephah shalosh sin, same as an ephah, because they're one and the same measurement. Ask the Gemara, but how do you know what a bas is? A bas gufa. We know. Ilim d'chsev is from the other pasuk. Sorry, it's the next part of this pasuk. Lo says mas maaser hachomer habas, that bas constitutes a maaser, a tenth, which you give to the Levi, whatever. It's a meiser of the chomer, and we assume a chomer is 30 sa'ah. How we know? We'll see in a minute. Well, if that's your source, ephah nam yoksiv asir chomer ephah. The same exact pasuk also relates to the ephah as a tenth of the chomer. So what do you have to equate the sa'ah to the bas to the chomer? Just go directly to the pasuk which speaks about an ephah comprising this quantity. Ella, so it must be that we don't really know what a chomer is to begin with. So the starting point here is unknown. Ella chomer le'idana kama. So what do you gain by looking at bas, which is determined to be a tenth of a chomer? First, we have to determine how much a chomer is. Here as well, we don't know what a chomer is. Rather, we have a different pasuk in Echeskel, which will clarify for us how much a bas is. It's in fact 3 sa'ah. The chok of the maser of the tenth, what is meant to be given away as maser? Bas from a kur. And we know, Rashi says, we used the kur measurement in Bavli, was a known quantity, it was 30 sa'ah. Asera sabatim chomer. So again, a maser is a tenth. Bas is master of the kur. Kur is 30 sa'ah, so bas is 3 sa'ah. And the pasuk reiterates, Aseres habatim chomer. If you multiply the bas, which is 3 sa'ah, by 10, you get a chomer. Ki aseres habatim chomer. That's what it is. So chomer is 30 sa'ah, like a kur is. And now we know with certainty that a bas is 3 sa'ah. And now we go back to that original pasuk that equates the ephah with the bas. Just as bas is 3 sa'ah, likewise an ephah. Here we go. An ephah is 3 sa'ah. And Yisarein is a tenth of the ephah. Okay, now since the Mishnah did speak about the fact that they increased the measurements, so when they came to Yerushalayim, they increased the sa'ah. They still called it a sa'ah, but it would contain a sixth more than the old sa'ah. So on that note, says Shmuel, if a community should choose to do so in the future, to increase, to be moisef on a midah, you're bound by a limit. You can't do it unlimitedly. There is a prescribed limit, a sixth and no more. And the Gemara later will tell us a sixth means an external sixth. We call it milavar, from the outside, which means to say you can add, and that addition that you're going to add will equal a sixth of the final total amount. So technically it's like 20%. Something which held, held 10 ounces, and now you want it to hold more, you can increase 2 ounces. So now it'll hold 12, and that addition, which is 2, is really a sixth of the final total amount. And that's what we learned from our Mishnah, because the old 6 went into the new 5. Apparently, the new 5 was a sixth bigger. It now accommodated that extra 1, which is an external sixth, a sixth of the total amount. Okay, so that's going to be the source of this halach. Amar Shmuel. If you choose to add, to increase, to enlarge a measurement, you limit it at a sixth. Number 1. Number 2, same thing with increasing the value of a coin. No more than a sixth. Number 3, if one deals with eichel nefesh, foodstuffs, food items, we want to ensure that the market is stable, that the food is affordable. Don't mark it up more than a sixth. So the profit margin can't be more than a sixth to make it affordable. Now, what's the objective in the first 2 items? The third I understand. What about the point of increasing measurements and currency value? Why are you limited at a sixth? My time. Is it because we want to keep the markets stable? Tara is the prices. And Rashi explains, because what happens when we increase? Suddenly, a pound is really 1.5. Inevitably, the price will have to rise accordingly. Now, for the ignorant observer, or the visitor in town, or the dealer from far, when he hears that the prices have risen in this town, he won't attribute it to, he won't realize why. He won't necessarily know the cause. He'll just know prices are rising. Oh, time to raise the prices. There's a shortage, a famine. So to keep the market stable, we only allow for a moderate increase, and no more. If that's the concern, don't even allow a 6. That's also a pretty drastic increase. That's also going to shake up the markets. Rather, the reason is no. It's unrelated to the previous reason. It's because of a no. Cheating. It's halacha that if one overpays or underpays, right? If it's less than a sixth, so then it's mechila, it's deemed to be forgiven. If it's more than a sixth, it's pretty drastic discrepancy, so it's going to cancel the whole deal. Bitul mekach. If it's exactly a sixth, the deal stands, but it's entitled to a refund. Or in the case of the seller was underpaid, it's entitled to demand full payment. Now, if we're going to allow for just drastic variations and tinkerings of the measurements and midos, it's going to cause havoc. Picture it. A dealer comes to town. He's accustomed to selling, wheat, a pound $1. Comes to town, not realizing that they increased the measurements. Okay, so now a pound really holds 1.5, and he's going to keep on measuring into that pound as though it's a pound, and charge the same old $1. Not realizing that he's entitled to 1.5, then he's going to realize he's going to come back and cancel all his deals. That's going to wreak havoc in the market. So, in order to ensure stability, we limit this modification at a sixth. So at most, he'll have lost that sixth. Although he's entitled to that extra payment, but at least the deals won't be canceled right and left. He'll have stability in the market. To avoid cancellation of the deals. Says the Gemara, but here it's not a matter of misestimating or undervaluing something. You got the wrong amount. You gave him too much. And whenever that happens, it's bitul mekach. Even if it's a drop over or drop under. if the discrepancy is not in value, rather in amount, it was meant to be a pound, I give you 1.5. That generates cancellation, automatic bitul mekach. Even if it's less than a sixth, you haven't really gained much by keeping it at a sixth. V'amar Rava tells us, Samagaris Rabba, Kol davar shebamida, any material that is measured, has a finite value in terms of size and measurement. Mishkal, it's weighed. Mini, it's counted. A dozen eggs, you gave him 13. Even if the sum total of discrepancy is less than a six, you can just back off. So this can't be the factor at play. Rather, we have a third suggestion. We want to keep the dealers happy, and their business is profitable. And basically, along the same lines, if it turns out that he innocently doles out more than he should because he's not realizing that the measurements are now bigger and contain more, at least he won't lose more than a sixth, which is really his markup. That's his profit, as we said before. When it comes to foodstuffs, the markup is no more than a sixth, so that's what he's going to be losing. At least he only uses his markup, his profit. He's not actually going to take a loss on the item. So that he should not be struck by loss. Diyana means loss. Says the Gemara, okay, so he won't lose, but you're basically telling him to sell at cost price. What kind of dealer is that? How's he going to pay his bills? So he's not going to be experiencing loss, fine. So he avoids loss, but how could you make a living by selling at cost price? Rachelo, he doesn't have to earn anything. And there's a common saying, Zavan, a fellow walks around buying items, Zavan, and reselling them at cost price. Tagra, Ikri is that called a merchant? What kind of businessman is that? Basically, it's not feasible. It's not sustainable. So that can't be the reason. Just to avoid loss. I mean, it's not really a sustainable system. So there must be another reason. For Shmuel's halacha, that Hisafis should be capped at a sixth. Increase in measurements or in value of currency. Elamar of Chizah Shmuel Kro Ashkach V'Darish. It's based on a pasuk. Pasuk in Yecheskel again, describing the currencies. A shekel, what is a shekel? Esrim Gera, comprised of 20 Gera. Now, what is a mana? A mana really isn't a coin or a specific currency. It's just it's really a weight. A weight comprised of 100 zuz. So in the Gemara elsewhere we have Sela. Sela has 4 zuz, 100 of which make a mana. So the pasuk here describes us what a mana is. Here shekel and Sela go together. In the Gemara it's called Sela, and the pasuk it's called shekel. So it's Esrim. We have to add this up. Esrim shkolim, 20, plus Chamishav Esrim shkolim, 25, plus Asor Chamishav shekel, 15, which is 60 shekel, 60 Sela, comprised of 4 zuz each. That is a mana, hamana yelachem. Ask the Gemara, hold it. Typically we know that a mana is 100 zuz. Here it's 60 shekel, each one is 4 zuz, so it's 240. Mana is a mana masan varbar and hava, 240 coins. Ella, so apparently it's as follows. First of all, Shema Mina, we learn from here to last 3 things. First of all, Shema Mina, mana shel kodesh. This wasn't an ordinary, mundane mana. There's a mana shel kodesh, different system when it comes to currency that's used in the Torah, like for Pidyon Haben, it's called mana shel kodesh. Is kafal haya, is double in value of a regular mana. So instead of 100 zuz, it's 200 zuz. Fine, but how do you get to 240? The answer is they increased. They increased by 20%. Shema Mina Meisifna al Mides. We learn from here that you can add to currency, you can add to measurements. Mana is a weight, right? A certain weight, certain. Vein Meisifna Yisam at most a 6, no more. Shema Mina. Thirdly, that the 20% is external. The 6 is external, as we explained before. It's a sixth of the final tally. Shtusim Lavar. Maravina Masisna Medek. I'll prove from Mishnah as well that the additional 6 is external. It's a sixth of the total final amount. The Ketani, because the Mishnah speaks about the increase that took place in Yerushalayim, in which case the old 6 would now squeeze into the new 5 because of this increase. Chamish, so in Yerushalayim is how much flour was used for the Toida, 5 sa'ah, bigger ones of Yerushalayim, which correspond in value to the old 6. Apparently 6 went into 5 because the new ones were increased by a sixth, an external sixth. Okay, so in a nutshell, we had the required volume for the carbon Toida. The old system was 6 sa'ah, the new system was 5 sa'ah, split evenly between the chametz and the matzah. The chametz had 10 breads, each one in isaron. The matzah had 3 types. Each one had 10 units, a total of 30. And evidently they were smaller, much smaller than the chametz breads, because, as we said, half the amount went to chametz, half the flour went to matzah, which had to be divided accordingly. We also learned the halacha of Shmuel. Haisafas and midos and matbeis are capped at a sixth, and likewise, profiteering from oichel nefesh should be capped at a sixth as well. Continues the Mishnah on base. So we have the breads before us. The halacha is we take a portion and give it to the kohen, 10%, 1 bread of 10. So basically you have 10 chametz, give him 1. You have the 3 matzah types, each one having 10, right? You give 1 of each. So kohen walks away with 4 units. Of all these types, he would give 1 of 10 to the kohen, truma. And that was called truma to the kohen. So 1 of each is given as truma to Hashem, to the kohen. Now let's analyze the pasuk word for word. So it says, echad, 1, a single unit, not divided or sliced into pieces. Echad means shelo yitel paras. It can't be a broken sliced piece. It's got to be a full loaf. The pasuk says mikol karban, 1 of each type. We learn from here that each type was made of 10. So the numbers were equal. We're all matching. Otherwise, you can have an unequal, uneven truma. Imagine you have only 5 chametz and 15 of one of the matzahs. You're going to take 1 of the chametz, which is 20%, 1 of 5, and 1 of the matzah, 1 of 15 of whatever the challah of the matzah there, right? So you're taking less than 10%, and it's sort of going to equalize. So one is doing for the other. It's not an equal division, not an equal truma. So Mikol Karban teaches us Shayu Kol Karban Shavis, that all the types are equally numbered, 10 of each. This way you're not going to be taking from one on the other, or accommodating one with the other one. Basically, it's 10% flat rate of each type. Why? Because there are 10 of each, and you're taking 1 of 10. Finally, the pasuk says, who receives this truma? La kohen azarik, as the mashlam, the kohen who's engaged in the avodah besamidash. Lo yeh, he gets it. Ashan, the rest of the breads go back to the owner. Nechal is consumed by the owner. Laban. Tanu Rabbanan. We have a very long price here, which will now analyze the halacha of the truma slachmei toida step by step, based on the psukim. Tanu Rabbanan. Vikir v'menu. What does v'menu mean? Mina mechuber. He's taking 1 bread that's connected, which means to say, as Rashi explains, it's in the same basket. It's one of the bunch. He's separating it now from the bunch, as opposed to, if it's sitting here and the other breads are there. It's got to be one taking from the unit, from the group of breads. Okay. Now the pasuk says echad shlital paras. We learn, as we said in the Mishnah, it has to be a complete whole bread, not sliced. Next, mikol karban, as we said in the Mishnah, that tells us that all types have the same amount of units. This way, it's a flat rate, 10% per type. Shiyu kol karban is shavos, right? Shlitum kol min hakarban l'chaver. Next, truma la Hashem. Now, we're talking about 10%, but how do we know? Why are we assuming it's 10%? Truma la Hashem, it just says truma. How much? Any day mikama, I have no idea. What percentage is considered the truma here? Okay, already done. Let's figure it out. Nemar kan truma. We have the word truma here by the Toida. V'nemar betrumas maser truma. We have the term truma by trumas maser, where the Levi takes 10% off his maserishin and gives it to the kohen. And just as over there, it's 10%. The same over here. Malahalon echad mi'asara. Afkan here as well. It's echad. It's 1 part of 10 mi'asara. Well, perhaps take a different approach with a different conclusion. Let's compare our truma to bikurim, which really doesn't have a defined quantity. Nemar kan truma, we have the word truma over here by the Toida. V'nemar bebikurim, when a person offers the first fruit, it says truma, ma'alan, just like over there, there's no specified percentage. Afkan, perhaps over here as well by the Toida. There's no specified amount. So basically, we're in a dilemma. We have the Truma of Lachmi Toidah. We're not sure. Should we compare it to Trumas Maser for 10% or to Bikurim with an unknown shear? Okay, let's see what's a more comparable comparison. Let's see who he compares to better. Says the Gemara, I prefer comparing him to Trumas Maser because there are common features between the two. Done in Truma, I will derive the definition of the term Truma over here by Toidah from Trumas Maser. Why? Truma, because this Truma by us is unique in the sense that this is the last and final offering. There's no Truma that follows it. Truma, likewise, we'll compare it to and learn it from the Trumas Maser, which shares a similar feature. Truma, which is the last Truma. Meaning after the Levi gives away the Trumas Maser, that's it. It's his for keeps. As opposed to Bikurim, which is the first separation on the list. It's followed by Truma Gedola, etc. It's only the beginning of the process. Val Yuchicha Bikurim don't indicate from Bikurim, which is runs a different track. Sheish Achrein Truma, which was followed by more Trumas. And that's why we compare Toidah to Trumas Maser. Oy, Kalechel Derech Sur, perhaps take a different approach. Compare them to Bikurim because of their similarities. Don and Truma Nechalas Malkam Kadesh. Let's learn about the Truma of Toidah, where we have a halacha that it must be eaten in a Malkam Kadesh. The breads have to be eaten in Yerushalayim. And likewise, Mitruma from Bikurim, which shares a similar feature. Nechalas Malkam Kadesh was eaten in Yerushalayim only, as opposed to Trumas Maser, he can eat any way he wants. Right? There's no geographical factor there. You can't prove anything from Trumas Maser. It's very different. It can be consumed anywhere. So why are we connecting Toidah to Trumas Maser? The answer is the wording is more similar. We have the word Mimenu Truma Lashem by Toidah. Uksiv Trumas Maser, and likewise Trumas Maser, it says Mimenu Trumas. So yeah, we have Gzera Shava. So now we know that's one part of 10. Okay, Lamadnu Truma Sheichat Maser. Now I conclude Toidah is one of 10. But fine. So I know it's 10 breads, one of which is taken as Truma. But how big is the challah? How much flour is needed per bread? Harei dan. I'll figure it out like this. Nemar kan lechem. We have the word lechem over here by Toidah. We have the term lechem discussed by Shtei lechem on Shavuos, where you offer the two breads together with the carbon, and each bread there is an isarein. Okay, good comparison. Malahal, just like over there, it's an isarein of flour, lachala per chala. Afkan here as well by the Toidah, isarein lachala. So you know each chametz bread is an isarein. Perhaps I take a different approach. Nemar kan lechem, v'nemar b'lechem apanim lechem. We have the term lechem over here, and also by lechem apanim. And over there, it's double the size. Just like over there by Lechem Apanim, it's 2 isarin per bread. Perhaps here as well, Afkan. Shnei Yisroinis, perhaps here as well, it's 2 isarin per challah, double the size. Well, so the Gemara will compare him to what's more comparable. Let's see what he's more comparable to. Don and Mincha Baim Chametz. Let's learn the Chametz component of the Toidah, which is a Chametz entity. Imazech, which accompanies a carbon. So that defines its entity, right? He's defined by the fact that he's chametz and that he accompanies a carbon. We'll compare him to something which has similar features. Chametz, which is a shtei lechem, comprised of chametz material along with a carbon. That's a fairer comparison, as opposed to lechem apanim, which doesn't have these two features. Don't prove from lechem apanim she'eina ba chametz ima zevach. First of all, it's not chametz, and also it's not together with a carbon. That's why we compare Toidah to shtei lechem. Oy kalechel derech. So perhaps they take a different approach, and do compare them to lechem apanim because of their commonalities. Don and mincha ba me'aretz v'chutz la'aretz. I'll compare Toidah, which is a mincha that is sourced from either local Eretz Yisrael material or Chutz material. There's no, dictation on that. And I'll compare it to Lechem Apanim, which likewise shares a similar track. Min HaChadash. Sorry, also Menachos Menachos. Furthermore, it can be either fresh crop or older crop. And I'll compare it to Lechem Apana, which shares these features as well. It's not limited to geographics, not limited to crop. It can be local or imported materials. Menachos, new, Menachos, or aged. As opposed to Shtei Lechem, which has a very specific material requirement. It has to be local, it has to be fresh crop. Totally different system. You can't prove from Shtei Lechem Shein Bois Menachos. It can only be sourced from the new crop and locally grown Min Haaretz. So again, perhaps we should compare to Lechem Apanim and get you jumbo breads. Talmud Leimar. Let's take a look at the pasuk which discusses the Shtei Lechem, which says like this: Mi moishvei seichem taviu lechem tnufa shtayim. Bring the two breads. Now the word taviu is an extra word. Bring it. Of course you're bringing it. It's coming to cover another offering, another similar bringing, another chametz offering, which is lachmei toida. Now they too follow the same recipe, an isarein per challah. There's no need to say the word taviu, it's extra. What's the point of taviu? To teach us another similar offering, another similar offering, which is a chametz offering, is modeled after this. After the Shtei Lechem. Just like by the Shtei Lechem, it's Isarin Lachala. Afkan here is all by the Toida. It follows the same model, Isarin per Lachala. One more last question. Ima Lahalon, if you're going to compare them to the Shtei Lechem, compare them all the way. So perhaps, just like over there, in total, it's only 2 Isarin, because it's just 2 breads. Perhaps the Chametz component of the Toida is only 2 Isarin in total, not 10 Isarin. Ima Lahalon Shtei Yisroines, Afkan Shtei Yisroines. So perhaps, just like over there, it's a total of 2. Here as well, it's a total of 2. So it's sort of in a tug of war. On the one hand, you're comparing him and you're saying, well, over there it's 1 Isarin per Chal. Yeah, because it's just a total of 2. So who says to focus on the individual aspect, perhaps focus on the total aspect, which is just a total of 2 for all the breads. Afkan Shnei Yisroines. We have a pasuk Tihiyena, and that same pasuk says Tihiyena was an extra yud. Tihiyena, the yud teaches 10 isarin for the 10 bread, 1 isarin per chametz bread. Says the Gemara, okay, we've established lamadnu asar l'chametz, that the chametz portion of the toida requires 10 isarin, 1 per bread. What about the matzah side of things? Asar l'matzah, how do we know that the matzah side of things also has 10 isarin for the 3 types of matzah? Talmud Leimar. They run the same track. It's a corresponding quantity. Al chalais lechem chametz. So the matzah is meant to be brought al, corresponding, opposite. Neged chametz have matzah. The matzah quantity corresponds to the chametz quantity. Nimtzu. Okay, so in total we have Esser Misrainas, 20 isarin for the entire package. Lachmei toidim. Asar chametz, and 10 for the matzah. Asar matzah. Okay, let's explore further. So you have 10 isarin for the matzah, great. Is matzah just one type of matzah? 3 types? Yochel, perhaps asar should be matzah. 10 isarin for the matzah. Well, you call them minachad, perhaps it's just for one type of matzah. Tell me, let me know. The pasuk clearly speaks about 3 types of matzah: loaves, crackers, and the oily one. There you go. So it's a certain type of matzah, chalos matzahs, looks more like a loaf. Urikike matzahs, more the cracker type, and then we have solos mubecha, it's the oily one. So it turns out we have 3 types of matzah, shleisha esroinim, u'shlish chomin v'min. So if we divvy the 10 esroinis to the 3 types, get you 330 isarim per type. And how big is each matzah? B'shalosh chalos isarim. 3 chalas per isarin, so each matzah is a third of an isarin. So sum total, at the end of the day, we have like this. Lach mei toida arboim. How many breads do we have in the toida? 40 in total, 10 chametz and 30 matzah. Noitel men arba. So he takes off 1 out of 10% per type, so it's a total of 4 breads. Gives it to the kohen, the rest he takes home. The rest is eaten by the owner. Let's go back and review the first part of the brisa. Vimenu means he takes the bread from the bunch, from the bundle. Rashi explained that to be in the same kli. So mimenu means connected somewhat. What about the pasuk which says, this is by an animal carbon. He removes the fats, puts it on the mizbeach. Mimenu. The Gemara is assuming that they first dissect the animal, then they remove the chelav, so it's not connected anymore. What does mechubar mean over there? The answer is it is, because Rav Chizda. Amar Avimi, he told us, Amar Avimi, exactly as such, the pasuk is teaching us. Before you remove the fats to the mizbeach, make sure the animal is intact. Don't be manatech, don't take it apart before you do the fat removal. Because it's meant to be a removal from the entire entity. Yaravimenu. It represents, the entire carbon. Let's go back and review another point in the Brisa, in terms of determining percentages. Namar kan truma, we have truma by the toida. V'namar b'trumas maser truma, we have truma b'trumas maser. 10% there, 10% here. Well, we have another place in the Torah where truma is used, and it's way less. It's actually 1 part in 500. That's when they brought back the spoils from Midian. It says they donated 1 part in 500, and they call it truma. V'nei lef mitrumas Midian. Let's learn from there. Mitrumas Midian. That's just 1 part in 500. The answer is like this. Done in truma nehegas l'doros. Let's realize Toida was an all-time thing. It was for all generations. It wasn't just a one-time event. So it's probable that we compare him to something which is like-minded. Trumas Maser, which is a regular event. Truma nehegas l'doros, but truma nehegas l'doros, as opposed to Midian, which is a one-time event, and therefore it's not really going to indicate for truma of lachmei toida. Val techech trumas Midian she'en nehegas l'doros. It's not a constant thing, it's not a routine, and therefore we don't go there. But we have one more example of truma, which is again less than 10% challah. The part that you remove from your dough to give to the kohen, it's 1 in 24. Let's learn from there. V'nei from trumas challah. The answer is Tana d'Reb Shmuel don and davar shenama by mimenu trumas Hashem. The wording is more comparable between toida and trumas maser as opposed to challah. We learn truma of toida where it says mimenu trumas Hashem. From trumas maser midavar shenambai, likewise it says the Gersa on the side adds mimenu trumas Hashem, so it's a comparable phrase, as opposed to trumas chala, which doesn't have mimenu. Lafuka trumas chala, mimenu trumas Hashem doesn't have the same term, and therefore we opt for a connection to trumas maser as opposed to the others. Boy Rabbi, now comes an interesting question. So we know we give 1 part of 10 to the kohen. Is that loaf like regular truma? What if a non-kohen eats it? Typically, if a non-kohen eats truma, b'mezid, there's misa. B'shogeg, there's a penalty of an extra chaimish, an extra payment. What happens to this truma of lachmei toida? Does it have a status of truma to that extent or not? What if it's got mixed into other materials? Typically, when something gets mixed in, if it's majority, it's batal b'roiv, right? But when it comes to truma, the chachamim were machmer. They called it meduma. You need that the permitted material should outnumber the truma that fell in by 100. Does that apply to this truma of the lachmei toida as well? So 3 questions are going to stay unresolved. Boy Rav, trumas lachmei toida. Chayav alei misa v'chaimish, or ain't chayav alei misa v'chaimish. If a zar eats it, is he liable to misa? If it's b'mezid or chaimish, if it's b'sheg or not? Shall we say, given the iskash of trumas maser, once we compare it to trumas maser, it has that same status? Could trumas maser damya all the way? Idilma, no. The pasuk by truma uses very specific term. Boy, if he eats this, he gets misa. V'chamishi soy, if he eats it b'shagi, he has to pay 1/5 of this. That's a miut. Miut rachmana. Perhaps the Torah is being memayit that these halachas do not apply to lachmei toida, despite being called truma. Next question, medamas. If it gets mixed into mundane material, does it make it asr? Or yenim damas, or perhaps not? Take it, we leave it unresolved. Okay? So let's say there is roiv against it. Is a bottle, or do we need 100 times as much? Take. Amar. Once again, we had in the Brisa discussion regarding the quantity. How much is used for the lachmei toida, 10 isarin, for the chametz, etc. How do we know? Talmud leimar tiyena. For the word tiyena. My Talmud, how do you see in tiyena the number 10? Amar Ritza bar Avdimi tiyena ksiv. The extra yud, in its numerical value is 10. Well, 10 what? We're assuming 10 isarin, which is a huge amount. Ema asara kfizi, perhaps 10 kfizi. Rashi says that kfizi is kfizi are a half calves, so it's a much smaller amount. 10 of those. Amarava, no. Look at the context of the pasuk, which discusses Yisrael. So 10 means 10 times Yisrael. Amrav b'Yisraelis, Dibra Akos, the Torah is discussing the Yisrael measure. On that we have 10. Lamad Asar l'chametz. Okay, so we've clarified that the chametz part of the Torah has 10 Yisrael, 1 per bread. Asar l'matzah minay. What about the matzah side of things? Tamalei mar. So we compared it, right? We compared the matzah to the chametz. Tamalei ma al chales lechem chametz. We learned that the matzah corresponds in volume to the chametz. Keneged chametz have a matzah, the same amount used for the chametz. 10 Yisrael is used for the matzah as well. Except by the matzah, it's all 30 breads. Okay. Now comes an interesting question. So pretty much we've imported information from shtei alechem to the lachmi toida, to the chametz. Right? We learn from shtei alechem that it's 1 Yisrael per bread. And we also know that chametz has 10 breads, right? Because it says truma. Truma is 1 out of 10. Has to be a full bread, and if it's 1 out of 10, inevitably you have 10 breads. Right? So bottom line is that there is an element that has to be imported, the fact that it's 1 Isarin per challah, but there's another component which is local, which we know from the pasuk of the chametz itself, that it has to be 10 breads. So now when we export this to the matzah, are we doing a double export? We're importing from shtei alechem to the chametz lachmi toida, and then we take that information and pass it on further to the matzah of lachmi toida. Right, so it's a chain derivation, which is not acceptable when it comes to kachim, halachas of kachim. Is that a problem? Ask the Gemara. How can we take information which chametz learned from shtei alechem and pass it on further to matzah? You can't pass on, you can't transfer information which you yourself had imported from elsewhere. Can it be so that an item, a halacha, a concept, which you yourself, chametz, learns from elsewhere from the shtei alechem, that each bread is an isaron, can you turn around and transfer that information through a connection, through a hekesh to matzah? You can't do that. You can't make a double export. The answer is no. You see, part of this equation is derived locally. The fact that there are 10 breads, that's known locally from the lachmi toida, because we said it's truma, and truma has to be 1 of 10. That part is known locally. He doesn't have to import that from shtei alechem. It's only the quantity, the fact that it's 1 isaron per challah, that comes from shtei alechem. So now he takes this full equation, partially locally sourced and partially imported, and transfers that to the matzah. Is that considered a double transfer? Himenu of the barachu. Part of it came himenu from himself, part of it the baracha came from outside. V'chol himenu of the barachu lehavi hekesh. It's not considered an hekesh. It's not considered like I imported that material, because part of it I knew locally. So what I'm taking from you, shtei alechem, is just complementing, so to speak, what I already know from my own self. So it's considered like local material, locally derived concept, which I can now transfer with one connection over to the matzah. It's not considered a double transfer. And now by the matzah we know that it's 10 isaron for the matzah. Okay, that's if you hold of this analysis. That works according to the shita, that when it's done in this way, it's not considered like imported material, because part of it was sourced locally. But if you go with the opinion that disagrees, it says even this is considered a double transfer, because after all, I took some information from you and then passed it on. How does that work? Taviyu ribuyu. The answer is, in the pasuk it says, Moshe sechem taviyu. The word taviyu isn't just sort of saying, well, let's compare the chametz to the shtei alechem, and then we compare that to the matzah, so it's a double connection. No. The word taviyu is an extra pasuk. When it's extra, we have to find an address for it, right? And we apply to the chametz portion of the Torah. So it's as though the pasuk itself is discussing, is openly referring to lachmi Torah and giving it the halachas of Isar and Perchala, etc. So now it's local material. The Torah dictates this is what the chalais chametz are going to be. It's not imported material. So now we can take that information and pass it on with one transfer, a single transfer to the matzah, to learn that it has a corresponding system. It's not considered a double transfer, and it works. Okay. Bottom line is, how does the Torah look? We have the animal itself, we have the many breads, 40 in total, and the flour is split equally between the chametz and the matzah. The chametz are a total of 10 breads, 1 isarim per bread. By the matzah we have 3 types: chalas, rikikin, and revucha, 10 of each. Obviously smaller breads. The kohen would get 1 of each type, a total of 4, which is considered truma Hashem. It's got to be a full bread. It's got to be taken from the basket. That goes to the kohen, the rest to the owner. How do we know it's 10%? We learn from Trumas Maser. We had a question regarding the status of the truma. Is it really like Trumas Maser to the extent of Misa, Chaimish, and Dimur? We weren't sure. Yep. So all the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rav.